within the group, we actually join our collective nervous systems to clear it out together. And the healing is actually pretty deep because someone else's unlocking or alchemizing of their ancestral trauma is actually the key for someone else, and they didn't realize it.
This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. When you engage in your own healing, how does your work as a healer change? Today, I'm so happy to be talking to Judy Hu again. They've created a group process to alchemize generational trauma, and in this episode, she talks all about her own path to healing and finding this way of working. They also guide me through an unexpected and powerful process right in the middle of the interview. Judy Hu is a licensed mental health counselor turned boundary coach based in Massachusetts. Judy is the author of the best-selling book, The Boundary Revolution: Decolonize Your Relationships and Discover a New Path to Joy, which documents the framework Judy developed to guide her clients through their boundary healing. Judy is also a Rebel Therapist grad. Welcome, Judy. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Annie. It's so good to be here.
So, I want to hear about everything that you're doing. I've been watching from the sidelines. I've been sharing your stuff here or there. Will you tell us a bit about what you're doing?
That is such a good question. Sometimes I have to go, what the heck is happening? Because I feel like something's propelling me. So for the listeners and context, I landed in your program when I was leaving my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I was creating my program. I had created a program already, but what I needed to do was understand how to market it because in leaving my marriage, I needed to increase my income. And so that's how it started, right? Was the intention of like increasing my income. And then what happened, as is often in the cases for like the healing journeys, quote unquote, is it took a life of its own and I just started following it. And so my groups transformed from like teaching people about boundaries, and it was very like, cut and dry. And through a couple of iterations, I have now created a group called Cycle Breakers.
Mm-hmm.
And Cycle Breakers came at a time when, I left my marriage. I came out as queer. I'm now identifying myself as non-binary and noticing the feeling of that as I've created safety in my body for the first time in my entire life. And I am 50 now. So what happened was in following what was unfolding for the group and also alongside what was happening globally, I found myself.
Mm.
So it was this like in tandem process of like, this group doesn't work for me, or how am I doing this right? Or what's the money thing and all these other things. And it was such from this, and I say it in my book, The Boundary Revolution, like the adaptive teenager, like trying to control the shit out of everything,
Yes.
And when I just surrendered and was like, let's just see what the universe is going to give to me, I landed in this new model of working. And so I teach people boundaries, but I connect it to ancestral trauma.
Mm-hmm. How did that start happening?
Oh, how it started happening is I started a ketamine journey.
Mm-hmm.
I had been talking to a colleague, Leah Constance and I, who just started a podcast called The Anatomy of Ancestral Alchemy. She had been talking about the benefits of ketamine, and I have been always struggling with chronic depression. And so I was like, if I'm going to be referring people to you doing this work, then I should probably know what it is like. So I started my ketamine journey this past summer, and it has been transformative for my depression, for how I see myself in the world, for how I embody my life. And it has also provided me this direct connection to what I call my functional adult or source, this higher power internally in me. And so it was that, and also the not rejection, right, by my family, but the cutoff that happened as I came into my full authenticity as a queer person of color.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that isolation, quote unquote, I found my liberation.
Ooh, would you mind saying that again?
In my isolation, so what I perceived from my externally as the abandonment, right, or rejection of who I really am. So in that isolation, I actually found my liberation in the sense of I am now fully living my life without any pressure of pleasing any other person except me.
Mm-hmm.
And that in this particular moment in time, with what's happening around us, feels so incredible, terrifying, and just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, in doing that, though, every time I opened up to my liberation, I noticed I would have a visceral response, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even now saying it, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to go out on public. This is
Uh-huh.
the first time I'm announcing, like, me embodying my non-binary identity, just like
Yes.
trying it out and seeing, right?
Yeah.
That my back is like primed for being stabbed or like harmed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what I started doing with my clients as I was completing the ketamine journey is I started connecting them to their ancestral trauma. And so for me, my ancestral trauma is communism in China, right? You could not be different than what the Communist Party wanted you to be, or else you would actually die, right? Which lands the charge in why I'm so terrified about coming out as who I am,
Mm-hmm.
because historically, people would be murdered.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that far off right now in the US,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
right? And so what I do is I help people land the charge in the ancestry. So it's usually like 2 or 3 generations back. So the bigger the charge, the further we look.
Ooh. Okay.
And then we clear it, we drain it, we connect the dots from the nervous system to the history, and then undo the program or the epigenetic impact or the belief in the brain, and then we drain it, and then we replace it with something different.
And when you say we,
Mhm.
I've seen you do this I've seen a recording of you doing this in a group. Is it
Mhm.
usually happening in a group?
Yes, so I work with either groups where the groups are powerful because what we're doing is we're tapping into collective nervous systems.
Mm-hmm.
So what I realized in my one-on-one work, it was powerful, but it was limited. So I respect the fact that there are lots of people who don't want to be working in groups because there's a lot of trauma within groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say we working one-on-one, I do that with the client or the couple that I'm working with to discharge it.
Mm-hmm.
Within the group, we actually join our collective nervous systems to clear it out together. And the healing is actually pretty deep because someone else's unlocking or alchemizing of their ancestral trauma is actually the key for someone else. And they didn't realize it,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like the brain doesn't know the difference between witnessing something and experiencing it themselves. So in the group, the mirror neurons get activated, and witnessing someone else do that clearing bypasses our own narrative. So we can experience the lived, the embodiment of that healing within the group. So the groups are really powerful, and it's not for everyone.
And then for the witnesses also,
Mhm,
well, for the person who you're focusing on,
mhm,
is there a way that having, even if they were nervous to do it in front of people,
mhm.
is there kind of even more healing in having everybody holding it and tapping in together?
Absolutely. So when I
Yeah.
think about trauma, like I just got chills in you saying that, right? I just did a mini talk with my group. So the group is like, we meet weekly and then everyone has access to me on WhatsApp. So they have their one-on-one asynchronous coaching on this platform, WhatsApp. So it's like texting and voice messages. So what I also do is do mini coaching between sessions for me to process stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a mini talk is what I call it. And what I did was I asked permission of the group to tap into their collective nervous system so I could land this charge because I could not land it individually because it was so big because it was collective.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what's happening is I'm going out to these live spaces to provide workshops in person. I'm now feeling terror in my body because I have 2 generational charges that I need to land. So one of them is my mom, right? So in the sense of when I talk about, so I'm going to zoom out for a second for the listeners. When I talk about these people, it's with same size and ultimate respect, right? So behaviors are often adaptations to trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's about survival, okay? So when I talk about this, it's never criticism or vilification of anyone. That is the foundation of my framework.
Mm.
So what I landed for the group was, or I needed the group to help me land was, I feel so much terror going out into the world right now. One, because if I made a mistake in my childhood, I would not only get terribly punished or threatened to be ostracized, like kicked out of the family. One of the main things was someone would hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally, my nervous system is completely fine being isolated. I created my business around I'm only seeing people online, not in person anymore, right? So complete isolation is totally fine with me. The moment I go out into the real world, there is this terror that I'm going to make a mistake where someone's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's one thing I was holding, and I was able to land it within communism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So in communism, it was if someone in your family stood up against the government, the family would get punished.
Mm-hmm.
It is a bigger way of controlling someone when you threaten their most beloved people.
Yeah.
And I'm just even holding that within the current
Totally.
lived experience right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, how did that land in your body when I was telling you that, Annie, if that's okay to ask?
I just got scared. My partner is trans
Mm-hmm.
and one of my kids is Black, and my mind started going, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just got
Mm-hmm.
scared.
Where did you feel the fear in your body, if I can ask?
In my throat?
Yeah. So for me, it's like what I do is in the group I offer, right? Just putting my hand there because my throat tightens. It's different now. Mine is the back is where I feel the fear. And so usually the throat is a constriction on saying something.
Yeah. And I think right now it's like part of the constriction is, oh, we're recording a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to interrupt you. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to take up your space
Mm-hmm.
or the listener's space. I think that's what yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting if we zoom out for a second. Okay. So this is what I do. I zoom in and zoom out because the nervous system is slow to regulate. Okay. And so when I zoom out, I want to give the listeners and you the opportunity to understand we are all connected.
Yeah.
So when I tell my story or I witness something happening in the news that brings up this charge in me, it's because there's something that I need to alchemize in my own history that resonates in this present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the question that we started with is there healing in the witnessing?
Yeah.
You being able to say, oh my gosh, I feel scared for the protection of these people who I love,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel this resonance of, yeah, me too. That's why I don't want to go out there and tell the truth,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? Because I might hurt someone in telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
My kids, the people who are in my cycle breaker groups, the people who are attending my workshops, right? When I guide people to their power, there is a risk when we have been historically domesticated and controlled for generation after generation.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
What happens in your throat as I just explained that?
It moves a little. It actually moves down to my heart area.
Mm-hmm. So is this okay with you that we're doing this?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
It's okay. I just always want to ask for consent. So when you put your hand on your heart now,
Mm-hmm.
what's the emotional quality?
It's like a little bit, sort of like bursting.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's the sensation. It's bursting. Can you feel to sense like the emotional quality? Is it?
It feels like,
Mm.
I guess It feels like love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you tap into that love, what happens in your body? Like, oh, this is love. This is what love feels like.
There's like pulses of like, yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and like a little bit of longing, like, I want to be with them right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So is it okay if I riff off of this a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So zooming out for a second, okay, you were like, but I want to make sure I have space for Judy or the listeners or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the collective trauma that we've all adapted around is disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
We do not see that we are all connected. We do not see that we're all connected, that something that hurts me or someone I love hurts you and someone you love simultaneously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how I experience it in my body, so this is what I want us to try now is when you tell me something from your nervous system, you've digested a piece in your history and you've offered it to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's me taking that, digesting parts of it that resonate in my story, and then I offer something to you. And then you land or you run it through your body and your nervous system to see what pieces, if any, resonate for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the interdependence that we have all been robbed of.
Mm.
This collective consciousness, this connection to ourselves and the other as equal and precious that we have all missed out on for generations. When I say that, I have a deepness in my lungs. I have been wailing this week
Mm-hmm.
because of the grief. And it's like grief from 3 generations worth of grief, right? So it's like patriarchy, communism, which is also just supremacy thinking, right? And capitalism, which prioritizes product or money over people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm landing that charge into the earth so it can distribute to the systems that have been at play instead of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, like when I go out, right, as I'm offering these workshops, I'm terrified of hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
But what I miss when I don't land it appropriately and alchemize it, what I miss is I'm actually protecting no one by upholding the system. I'm actually harming them more by not showing up fully as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's on my maternal line, right? So I was holding that charge of like, I'm terrified of hurting people. And then I was able to alchemize it and go, if I don't go out there and bring them this information, I'm actually hurting them more by keeping them stuck in this low grade misery, the constant
Mm-hmm.
like that we've all like just barely survived because we don't have enough space, understanding, or resource to process this out because it's so much, right?
Yeah.
And then in my other hand, in my right hand, which is the paternal line, I'm sitting with the fact of if I leave my home, I might not be able to ever come home.
Mm.
Because what happened in China, my father, my biological father, was out handing out invitations to a wedding when he was kidnapped by the Kuomintang, which is a anti-communist party, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was going out, doing his thing, doing this thing that was going to be exciting, and he was kidnapped and taken to Taiwan.
Mm.
So that's the charge of like, but what if I can never come home to my beloved children, right?
Yeah.
This is what's happening also on this land.
Mm-hmm.
People are coming back from trips or like going to work from Canada, and they're getting detained and taken away with no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
How does that land in your body when you hear me say that?
There was a tiny bit of my own, there was like a tiny bit of tension in my like upper back because
Mm-hmm.
my partner who's trans is going on this trip very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep like checking like how bad are things getting for this to be a good idea.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and it's a much smaller, like I felt like more of my presence was with your story.
Mhm.
And like, it's like a smaller, like,
Mhm.
because it hasn't happened yet, it doesn't tap the same
Mhm.
place. Yeah.
Mhm. But just even zooming out for a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see how this lands.
Mm-hmm.
Annie, for you to even have that tab up in the back of your mind that you're checking, right,
Mm-hmm.
means it's taking up space,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I just want to hold that with you. Like, I just got shivers in my body of like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean by checking to see if it's going to be safe for my people to be going out there. I feel
Mm-hmm.
this way every single time I kiss my kids goodbye
Yes.
going to school. Every single fucking time.
Yes.
And I just want to zoom out for a second for the listeners. And I'm going to try not to yell. It is not normal
Yeah.
that we have to kiss our kids goodbye with this background noise of, will there be a school shooting today?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for my kids who are Asian, will they be targeted today
Mm-hmm.
about where they're from or if they have a right to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's so many layers. And then I have another worry about their young girls, right? Are they going to be harmed? These are the things that we all carry every single day. And it's collective trauma that we've learned to adapt our lives around and tolerate as normal.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that this benefit of the group is, yes, there's witnessing for each other, and that's healing in and of itself. But when we clear out this trauma, what we also get to witness is people coming alive.
Mm-hmm.
When we're able to close out tabs of like, oh, that's the ancestral trauma from my mom's side, and that's the ancestral trauma from my dad's side from this particular thing, I clear it out so I don't have to carry that luggage anymore. And then I have so much more capacity and space and awareness to be present right now. Because before they leave, I run through like, what are your things going to do if you come across this? And because I'm able to prepare them, they don't feel scared. They feel prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to keep people like practicing is understanding what's coming up in their body so they can locate it, notice the sensation. We just did this together, Annie.
Yeah.
Figure out the emotion and then try to land where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can discharge it because it's just data and then become present again.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it feels, it's just like I feel the truth of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I love that I get to do this with you, Annie.
Thank you so much, Judy.
Uh-huh. Something I say in all of my groups, and I'm going to say here, right? It's like been a mantra for myself. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. What is this data telling us?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everyone in my group, you are not here to be fixed. You are not here to be saved. You are here to live. And so when I'm with you right now doing this, I feel like we're walking like side by side in tandem.
Yeah.
And it feels really nice.
I feel so grateful. And I'm really noticing, like, if I were to time travel to when I met you,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what year that was. Was that 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to be present in this way during this conversation.
Me neither.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't ready yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Right? And going back to the whole like, oh, this is interesting how it's unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I wasn't ready yet. I needed to go through the things that I was going through, the struggle I was going through, so my nervous system could get ready for this next thing.
Yeah.
So it was an honor to be with you in 2020 when I was like, how do I do this thing with my platform? And now be like, oh, this is what it feels like to be alive in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to be with you then, and it's good to be with you now.
Yes. Yes. We'll get right back to this episode. I just wanted to pause for a moment to tell you about my offer for therapists and healers who want to expand beyond private practice and launch their own programs. You get to be in a group of driven and open-hearted folks like yourself, and you'll be launching your own pilot program. This all happens in my 10-week container. Create your program. Go to rebeltherapist.me/create to learn more. Okay, let's get back into the episode. What else do you want clinicians to understand, or like anything else that you want to kind of guide us towards?
So one of the big learnings was, I switched to be fully upfront, I switched from being a clinician to what I call a boundary coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that strategically because I didn't want to take insurance anymore and I wanted to serve people all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because I thought I was trying to increase my income, whereas the universe was trying to increase my reach.
Yes.
And I only know this in hindsight. So
Yeah, the universe tricked you.
oh yeah. It's not even tricked me.
Yeah.
It's a new thing that
Yeah.
I'm fully trying to embody because
Yes.
our primary relationships are the blueprint of any intimate relationship, right? So my blueprint from my primary relationships was I cannot trust anybody, including myself, right? So now I have this new relationship with the universe of like, you've been conspiring with me the whole time? Like it's this new relationship because I now create safety internally. So I can now look and go, oh, universe, thank you for that gift. I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
So in becoming a boundary coach, I unlearned how it was to be a clinician. So this won't be probably the story I make up, is this won't be a surprise to the people who listen to your podcast. Clinicians, as we were trained to uphold this system.
Yes.
To get people barely surviving just so they can go to work, but not well enough that they would stand up to the power that makes them feel this way.
Yes.
Does that land for you?
I mean, yes. And like, is it okay if I just geek out for a second?
Please.
And then come right back to where you are? Is like,
take your time.
Yes, I feel like we are trained we're trained in a way where we're very aware of the gatekeepers as we're getting our training.
Mm-hmm.
And like, ethics are beautiful. I want to say that. Ethics are beautiful. And so much of the gatekeeping is not beautiful and is not okay. And it's not about liberation.
No.
And I feel so grateful that I was trained a lot by queer people. So there was this other like, this is not about the gatekeepers. And then we're also like trained to become gatekeepers. And it's so
without realizing it.
Without realizing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And thinking that we're doing the right thing, being taught that we're doing the right thing sometimes when we're really, holding back from what would be liberating. So, yes. And then I think like so many therapists are, again, learning new things. Fucking amazing. I'm in 2 training programs right now. Definitely yes to learning things. But I see a lot of therapists feeling like I'm going to get one more stamp of approval on me, and I'm going to get one more certification, and then I'm going to be worthy.
Yes.
And no to that. Yeah.
And generational indoctrination and domestication that we need to get those things, right? Especially for those who have been socialized as women, right? So one of the other reasons why I was trying to create my own new program was because I was burned out.
Yeah.
The way that I was trained to do therapy burned me out, made me feel like I was incompetent. It made me so worried about my clients. It made me so stressed out all the time because I was taught to carry rather than have faith in this process with the client and teach them how to learn to reconnect to their body where all of the medicine is. And so going back to the question of what would I like the folks who are listening here understand is when we decolonize our mind and our body and the way that we work as clinicians, when we do the anti-racism work, there is a new way of working with clients that is not only liberating, It is invigorating and it is rewarding and it is phenomenal. So I run these groups, right? I have a group that's open for everyone. And then I have a group that I'm going to be offering in like mid-April, end of April, I'm sorry, for clinicians.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a group for BIPOC only on Thursday evenings. So it's like I have these weekly groups. And after every single group, I feel so invigorated, not because I saved anybody, but because we just journeyed together and we digested pieces of the collective trauma that we're called to do together, right? Every single group is different because everyone comes with a different thing each day. Then we do mini coaching and then everyone witnesses it and digests it and tries it on for themselves. It is so much easier than the way that I used to do therapy. You know, it's amazing. And the thing is, when we start to understand how much people are carrying from their past, generationally and ancestrally, when we start to understand, oh, that's why I have this particular dynamic with this person because their oppressor taught them to do this, and my oppressor taught me to do this. And so when we're in communication, we're actually literally, our bodies are at war, and we didn't realize it, right? So now when I do my couples work, it's so fun because I'm like, oh my gosh, I think it's this, and then it's this, and then how does it land? And I just invite them in on that process. So I'm not teaching anything. I'm just wondering with them. And it's like we're watching a detective movie. It's so much easier to do that work than it is to try to fix someone because there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing to save. There's nothing to fix. It's just, how do you unpack all of this generational trauma that people are carrying around thinking it's their personality? It's not. It's trauma that's been decontextualized. This is the thing that my North Star from Resma Menicum in my grandmother's hands. Trauma decontextualized in a person looks like personality, right? I hid my authenticity because the trauma that got decontextualized was incredible judgment, right? Trauma decontextualized in a family looks like family traits. My family was very rigid about what was acceptable or not because they fled a communist country, landed in the US where they had to assimilate. And so the trauma that got decontextualized was we need to act like everyone else. So you need to accommodate these expectations, right? And then trauma decontextualized in a group of people looks like culture. Everyone's trying to act the same way to be good enough. And we're not supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be the same. We are each individually precious beings meant to live and shine in our full authenticity because we are cross-pollinating. Just like we were doing just now, like riffing off of each other around this thing.
Yeah.
I learned something from your digestion, right? And I am getting to integrate that and probably bringing it to some, and it's like, that's what it's supposed to be like. Not this hoarding of power and control, not this judgment of what someone should do with their life. It's none of my business.
So I got to watch a little bit of one of your group sessions right before we got on. And one thing I was noticing was like so much playfulness. Like you were being so playful and kind of like, oh, you stop it with those emojis. And like, there was just like, I don't know, this play happening. Is that different? Like, would that have not showed up in your past work the same way?
No, not at all. I was very rigid and like, okay, here's the document that we're going to do now. And because I was acting like a teacher, right? Versus now in my cycle breaker groups, because I'm allowing them to see me fully as I am, and I'm allowing myself the freedom to make mistakes and ask for forgiveness and be forgiven, right? Because I'm in charge of my sense of worth, not them. Because of that, I'm able to access my prefrontal cortex where the playfulness is. So if we zoom out, can I give an example?
Yeah, please.
When there were natural disasters like earthquakes in countries, right? The mental health clinicians that would go to that land to help support the survivors one of the first things they would do with the kids is get them to play. Play therapists, art therapists would go and get the kids to play, because when you're able to shift a child into playfulness, they move from their limbic system and survival out of that shock into play, right? And so it's that playfulness that reconnects you to the living. So it's not, you're not shut down and freeze. You're not highly activated in fight. You get to go into that playfulness part. So now that I have learned to create safety and belonging and unconditional love in my body, I bring that wherever I go. So the beauty of the group is it has created this environment for me to feel safe and seen, knowing it's my job to see me and create safety. But because I'm in an environment where everyone's doing their own work and labor of creating safety and belonging and unconditional love in their own bodies, we're able to riff off each other, knowing that if I step on your toes on accident because I was just being silly, you're able to say, like, Judy, that didn't feel good. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you're right. I don't get defensive. I'm like, yeah, I was joking and you wanted me to be serious. I'm so sorry. I was telling them. They were like doing these silly things because I was like, we are not a cult people. And they're like, Guru Hu. And I was like, no, and we were joking. And I was like telling them, like, I'm trying to be serious here. Like, and it was just so much more fun to do this work with joy than it is with like a fucking mic, like magnifying glass. Like, what's wrong with you? Why is there a dot right here when there shouldn't be? It's like, it's not how we're, for me, the story I make up is it's not how we need to do the work. It's not, at least for me, it's not how I want to do the work anymore. I want to have fun every day.
Yes. So you're not heading toward burnout in the way you're working now.
No, I'm actually so much more prolific. Like, I haven't been sleeping in February because I've just been, it's like so much is coming through. I don't know if you follow astrology. If you're not sleeping and anxious, it's because we're coming through this astrological shift.
Okay. Yeah, that has been happening to me. Interesting.
My weekly groups, I have a full caseload, which is not nearly as many as I used to carry individually. And I started a podcast. And I'm going to do my book in audio. So I am far from burnout. I'm like so inspired every day of like, what is the thing I'm going to birth today?
Yeah.
Which is so different than how I used to be of like, how am I going to get through the day?
Yeah. Do you have, like, in your schedule, do you have enough flexibility in there that you can create more when you're not face-to-face with people and all those kinds of things?
Yeah, I've intentionally scheduled that first. So like Mondays are my admin days and I do social media. So so I don't create content anymore. I just clip it from my groups.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's just creating this automation. And then on Tuesdays, I record my podcast. And then I have a virtual assistant who's incredible and does all that back-end work that I hate. And then I just show up for my sessions when they're scheduled. So it's much more dynamic and it works for my brain.
Yeah. I know it's going to be different for other people, what actually works, but like you've got 3 groups. Those are 90 minutes or what are those?
They're 75 minutes.
75. Love it. And then like, what would you say you usually do outside of those groups in terms of like session?
So individual or couple sessions, I do maybe 10.
Nice.
And then I get to be present for my kids' activities.
Yeah.
I get to volunteer in my community.
Yeah.
So it's full. I feel very, very lucky. Thank goodness for the universe and me and just releasing and surrendering.
Yeah.
Because I could not have crafted the way that this is ending up.
And I know like it's been a lot more than money that has like, as we've just talked about, like where it started, where it went. What is your business and your relationship to money like right now?
That is still a work in progress. I have doubled my income, which is exciting. And also like, so how I describe it is I have to get my nervous system ready. So for instance, an example would be if someone's been in famine for a long time, you cannot feed them nutritious food right away. Their system will shut down because they don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So my shift has been from poverty, right, to more abundance, but I have to time it. I have to slow it down. So I'm in this place of, if I get more money, I am not going to put a target on my back, because that's what happened in the Cultural Revolution in China.
Mm-hmm.
The people who had land and money
Mm-hmm.
got punished.
Mm-hmm.
So honoring that truth, right, allows me to slowly go, okay, so I doubled my income. Am I still alive? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Am I still safe? Yes. Am I a bad person? No. Right? And so I get to keep checking that, because the programming is intense,
Yeah.
right? It's not so simple as change your mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You cannot change your mindset when you're part of a group of people who have never been safe to be abundant,
Yeah.
right? I look at like Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing great, and then their entire town was burnt to the ground because cannot have Black people being liberated and abundant.
Yeah.
This is the ancestral stuff that needs to be understood and cleared out so that we can fully live in our abundance, knowing that now in my life as I am right now, I'm going to be strategic
Mm-hmm.
around how I protect my community. I'm going to be strategic on who I let in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be strategic on how I protect myself and others so that this won't keep happening.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Judy. Oh, actually, before we go, how do people figure out which of your groups, if they're a clinician of some sort, how do they figure out which of your groups is the right fit?
I will guide you to that. So just go on to theboundaryrevolution.com or judyhuboundarycoach.com. It'll point you in the same spot. And then there's like a discovery call link that you can schedule with me. But everyone who wants to work with me have to complete my course, which is called Embody Your Boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also on there. It's required because it's like this pre-recorded. It used to be 8 hours of live training that I've just created into modules. So it's self-paced and it's excellent.
Yeah.
And you take that to understand the framework that I do in all of my groups. So that is the requirement to work with me either one-on-one or in groups, because it helps you start getting used to it. So the groups are 4 months weekly intentionally, because I'm actually putting your nervous system in a completely different environment. And between those weekly sessions, we're riffing off of each other on WhatsApp asynchronously if you want to, right? Because I'm training each person to be interdependent.
Mm.
Most of the people who come to me are anti-dependent.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because it's an adaptation of trauma. I can't trust anybody, right?
Yeah.
And so I slowly get them to reach out, not to be saved or fixed, but to share what's happening. And then I keep pointing them back to their functional adult. I give them tools, and then we just rework the nervous system. And within 4 months, it's totally different.
Mm. Thank you so much.
I don't know if that answered your question.
It totally answered. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking people are going to be listening and thinking, I might want to do the clinician group, or maybe I should do one of the other groups. And so that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything you didn't get to say that you want to make sure people hear?
I do want to say this, especially with the group that are serving so many people, is if you're not talking about the LGBTQ community or the BIPOC community or any community that's marginalized, like might be perceived as an immigrant community, if you're not bringing that in, you need to, right? So I intentionally have a BIPOC only space because there is no safety in our society. For women, it's not safe. For people of color, it's not safe. If you identify differently, whether it's able or working class or whatever, it's not safe out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so really identifying what are folks really holding is going to be really important, including looking internally and going, what am I actually holding for myself right now, so I can be aware of it so it doesn't get in the way, not of working with people. It's so it doesn't get in the way of living.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much, Judy Hu.
Thank you so much, Annie.
Learn more about Judy Hu at theboundaryrevolution.com. I want to thank Ames Palms for editing this podcast. If you found this episode supportive, please do a couple of things. Share it with your favorite therapist or healer. That is absolutely the most important way we reach more people. And if you haven't already, please hit follow and give us 5 stars. That is so helpful to this podcast. And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.